Everybody, it is I. Yes, it is I, Nomad, coming to you from the wastelands of the internet. And I have a news story. That is not a news story, but it shows everyone just how out of touch, how absolutely myopic these people are, and they're going to bring about what they are quote unquote railing against by their very lack of self awareness. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this from The Guardian. These conditions are ripe for political violence. How close is the U.S. to civil war? Nearly half of Americans fear their country will erupt in the next decade. Ahead of the midterm elections this week, 3 experts analyze the depths of the crisis. Barbara F. Walters. Judges will be assassinated. Democrats will be jailed on bogus charges. Black churches and synagogues will be bombed. American political scientist and author How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them. Americans are increasingly talking about civil war. In August, after the FBI raided Donald Trump's Florida's home, Twitter references to civil war jumped 3,000%. Trump supporters immediately went online, tweeting threats that a civil war would start if Trump was indicted. One account wrote, "Is it Civil War o'clock yet?" Another said, "Get ready for an uprising." Lindsey Graham, a Republican senator from South Carolina, said that there would be riots in the streets if Trump was indicted. Trump himself predicted that terrible things are going to happen if the temperature wasn't brought down in the country. Perhaps most troubling, Americans on both sides of the political divide increasingly state that violence is justified. In January of 2022, 34% of Americans surveyed said it was sometimes okay to use violence against the government. 7 months later, more than 40% said that they believed civil war was at least somewhat likely in the next 10 years. 2 years ago, no one was talking about a second American Civil War. Today it's common. Really? No one was talking about it? I was talking about it. And I was talking about it because of people like this Barbara F. Waters. She points out one thing in that beginning statement: judges will be assassinated. In a civil war that begins in America, she is correct. Judges are going to be assassinated. If a civil war were to break out, the first instances of that this is starting to take place will come from the fact that judges are going to be targeted. But guess what? It won't be Democrats will be jailed on bogus charges. It's funny, Barbara, because so far what we're seeing is Republicans being jailed on bogus charges. See, the very thing that you're talking about, oh, my poor little leftist, while you sit up there and allow the riot after riot from Black Lives Matter. And you think that somehow that it's the Republicans? Black churches and synagogues are going to be bombed. No, they won't. Unless it's by other leftists. Like always. You see, these people are so lost in their view of their political opponents that they assign to them every bad thing, even when it is about them, about how they feel, how they act, even though it's staring them right in the face that the people they support are doing those very things. That they're responsible for the political violence in this country. Are America's fears overblown? The most frequent question I get asked following my book, How Civil Wars Start and How to Stop Them, is whether civil war can happen in the U.S. Skeptics argue that America's government is too powerful for anyone to challenge. Others argue that secession will never happen because our country is no longer cleanly divided along geographical lines. Others simply cannot believe that Americans would start killing one another. These beliefs, however, are based on the mistaken idea that the Second Civil War will be like the first. It won't. I agree with that. If a second civil war breaks out in America, it will be a guerrilla war fought by multiple small militia units spread around the country. Their target will be civilians, mainly minority groups. No, it won't be. Right? Opposition leaders, right? And federal employees, judges will be assassinated. Democrats and moderate Republicans will be jailed on bogus charges. No, they won't. See, there's the whole problem. There's the whole problem. This person has no understanding. All right? She is layering on the hatred that she and her side have for this nation onto everybody else. On her opponents, even though it's happening on her side, and her side is doing this very thing. Who was it that went after Brett Kavanaugh? Who was it that showed up, all right, at the home of Brett Kavanaugh? Was it somebody from the right? No. But this dingleberry still thinks, oh no, it's those right-wing radicals. You have no understanding of right-wing radicals. You really don't. Not of the true right wing. Because you think that right-wing radicals are Nazis. And I don't mean that from the standpoint of what the right wing is, right? I mean that from the standpoint of you think because you've been told, because you've been assigned this to massage yourself, right? Oh, no, we can't have the truth about the Nazis told anybody. The Nazis were not right wing. They were leftist nationalists. They were nationalists, but they were leftists. They were leftist in nature. That's how they rose and seized power. There was nothing conservative. There was nothing traditional about the Nazis. But see, people like Barbara here doesn't want to sit up there and face that reality. Oh, yes. No, man, they harkened back to a time, of the Aryan race. There was no Aryan race. It was totally fiction. We're going to worry about election deniers now? What about the election deniers, all right, in 2016? What about using the government force, all right, to go after people who are politically against you, Barbara? All right, but you didn't see that, did you, Barbara? You just skimmed right over that. That didn't even make it. Now here's another one, all right? Stefan March. America has passed a point at which the triumph of one party or another can fix what's wrong with it. The United States is a textbook example of a country headed towards civil war. The trends increasingly point one way, and while nobody knows the future, little, if anything, is being done by anyone to try and prevent the collapse of the republic. Belief in democracy is ebbing. The legitimacy of institutions is declining. America is increasingly entering a state where its citizens don't want to belong in the same country. These are the conditions ripe for political violence. Really? Really? No civil war ever has a single cause. It always has a multitude of factors that lead to the decline and collapse. The current U.S. has several of what the CIA calls threat multipliers, right? Environmental crises. Oh yeah, that's gonna. We'll continue to batter the country. as if we can't go in just look at the past and read about all the different natural disasters this country has gone through. These guys are so lost. They're so freaking lost, right? economic inequality at the highest level since the founding of our country. Really? Really, huh? You want to talk about economic disparity? Go back to the early 1800s and take a look at the difference between someone living as a slave and someone living in a plantation. Economic disparity, inequality, it has nothing to do with it. A demographic change that means that the U.S. will be a minority white country in just over 2 decades, something that they've been preaching for 2 decades, kind of like climate change. All of these factors tend to contribute to the overall civil unrest. It has nothing to do with civil unrest. All right? The whitening of America has nothing to do with civil unrest. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, Mr. Stephen March. All right? Because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Because you've assigned a point of view that is not accurate to conservatives. And this is a problem when you're trying to play the game of who's doing what or where or how those demographics are going to play out. This is why you're having a problem understanding, quote unquote, the Latinx community. Because there is no such thing as Latinx. Somebody from Puerto Rico has an entire different view of the world than somebody from Venezuela. And somebody from Venezuela does not think, all right, like somebody from Mexico when they come to the United States, with one exception. This is the land where they can be free to do whatever they want to try and get ahead. They all have that in common. And there's nothing wrong with that view, except for the fact that they're coming in droves and they're taking their cultures of their nations with them. And their nations are utterly corrupt, and they accept that corruption. And that's where we're having a problem in this country, because of people like you who accept the corruption on the left, turn a blind eye to it, and never do anything about it. Oh, there's a civil war coming, but it ain't coming the way you think it is. It's not coming the way you want it to be. And then we have Christopher Sebastian Parker. Many white people, I love this, many white people feel the need to take drastic measures to maintain white supremacy. This guy is talking about himself. You see, the problem with all of this from the leftist perspective is they're being stood up to and they can't handle it. You want to talk about political violence? Really? Antifa has been going around for the past decade, burning shit, rioting, doing whatever the hell they want, and yet, well, look at January 6th! Look at January 6th! 10 years of rioting with BLM and Antifa across the country, burning federal buildings, attacking federal judges. All right? Nope. It only became a problem, all right, on January 6th. Right? Because a civil war is coming because quote unquote conservatives stood up. But it's not because of the right that this is happening. It's because the left has become utterly corrupt and they're doing nothing, all right, to fix themselves. And everybody sees it. Everybody is noticing it. Federal power has gotten too large. Now, there is a way to fix it. There is a way to cut the Civil War off at the knees and prevent it from happening. But it's something that's very drastic, and people are terrified. Oh no, what is going to happen? Look, folks, if you want to fix the nation, there's a method. There's a peaceful method of fixing the problems with and that begin and end with the federal government. It's the federal government that's the issue. It's too large. It's gotten out of control. But the reality is our republic, the power The ultimate power in our republic is not in the hands of the people. It's not in the hands of the federal government or the president or Congress or even the Supreme Court. The ultimate power legally in this nation are the states. They can call a convention of states and reduce the scope of the federal government overnight. Now, I'm not suggesting that they do it that way. I am trying to point something out that the Constitution of the United States specifies that the states have final say in these matters, not the federal government. And this is the problem with the people on the left. They take a look at the abortion ruling. Oh, look at this. Oh, and there's abortion all over. The abortion ruling threw it right back to the states and said the states get to decide. If you're in New York, why do you care, all right, what the people in Texas are doing? How does that affect you? It doesn't. So why are you convincing about it? If you're in California, what do you care what they're doing in Nebraska? If you're in Washington, what do you care what they're doing in Florida? We are a nation of states, and a convention of states would fix this because it could redress the overreach, the massive overreach, all right, by the federal government. But they can take away our rights, no man. They can take away our rights. They're taking away your rights right now. You have a right that's enshrined in the Constitution, sure, all right? But it's being bled away. You see it on Twitter. You see it from these leftists all the time. You want to fix this? You want to prevent a civil war? Call a convention of states. If you don't want to fix it, well, you can listen to these idiots. It's not going to go the way that they're talking about because it's not a race war. Well, racists are going to be a part of this. There's no doubt about that. Racists on both sides. It's going to be started off by people like Tiffany Cross calling for a race war, which she has done multiple times on MSNBC to the point where they fired her. But see, does Mr. Christopher Sebastian Parker mention that? Huh? Did Stephen March? Did he mention any of that? No. Did Miss Barbara F. Walter? Did she mention any of that? No, they gloss over saying, "Oh, the poor people on the left, we're the downtrodden, we're the minority, we're the ones who are true." No, what you are a bunch of arrogant, freaking elitist asshats who think that you're smarter, better, more intelligent than everybody else. And by the way, if you're a minority like a black person, you'd better start to realize who the real racists are in this country. You'd better have your come to Jesus moment and start taking a good hard look at who you've been in bed with these leftists. You'd better take a look at what the NAACP has been doing. When it allows someone to walk into their organization and be in charge of their local chapter because, well, my name is Rachel Dolezal and I identify as a black person. You might want to think about things. You might want to step back and take a look at things and stop trying to blame Whitey for everything and take a look at, well, wait a minute here, who's really pushing this stuff? The idea is that you can't get ahead in this country. Is that a conservative viewpoint? No, that's a leftist viewpoint. That's a Democrat viewpoint. And you better wake up to that fact sooner or later because it'll be too late. Now, do I believe a civil war in this country is coming? If we don't have a convention of the states? Yes, I do. Because the left will never stop until they have seized total power and reign over people. Understand that. They will never stop. If you don't believe me, look at what they've done. They made up data, right? They took falsified, made up evidence to a federal court to get a license to wiretap. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact that was proven in court. And yet you asshats on the left still deny. Oh no. It's not like that. It's not like that. Trump bad, orange man bad. You don't even understand, okay, why people like Trump. It has nothing to do with he's a Svengali and he's got the people brainwashed like Hitler did. It isn't that at all. You know why they like Trump? Because he refuses to kiss your rings. He refuses to knuckle down to you Marxists. And you can't handle it. And people are cheering that on because somebody needed to stop this insanity from you idiots. Is a civil war coming? And what I love about this is a Guardian piece. As if somehow we're viewing this from our safe haven over in Britain, and we're describing. You went in there and described once again conservatives in terms only described by leftist lunatic assholes. That isn't accurate, isn't true, and you once again have nobody in there. Nobody did you pick on the conservative side to say why a civil war is coming in this country. They were all a bunch of Marxist leftists, and what does that tell you? A civil war means there's two sides. Well, we're only going to present the one side. And then when the one side's lying about the other side, well, we're not going to say anything about it. We're just going to let it go. If there's a civil war in the country, the media is going to be 99% responsible for it because they failed their job. They failed to tell people the truth. Truth to power. Really? Really? Truth to power. Well, when you in the press start showing up and saying, okay, we really got to sit there and take a look at the honest and have an honest view of this, then we'll know. Otherwise, your push, all right, and your concept of saying push truth to power is just that. It's just bullshit. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Hope you all have a good day. I'll talk to you all later. Bye bye, everyone.